Hi, Mike DePung here, and I'm happy you're with me on another day of this April for National Poetry Month. And I'm going to read another because it's very close to Earth Day still, and this is the month where the Earth is celebrated, and not only celebrated, but the warnings are given and ways to um, deal with and help protect the environment are abundant at this time of the year. If you've never read Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, you probably, if you care about the environment, you could force yourself to read through it. It's kind of a heavy read, but she was a journalist and she died at a relatively young age of cancer. But she is basically the reason why uh, the Environmental Protection Agency was formed. Her work and what scientists built off of and the way they approached Congress. And she's the reason, the primary reason for that. And so she saw things, and I remember when it came out when I was in high school. Um, she saw things that a lot of people weren't seeing, didn't want to face because why? Well, because it interfered with profits. It interfered with farmers. They wanted their pesticides, and it's what almost killed. It almost what made the bald eagle extinct. It's what's created these fertilizers, and not only fertilizers, but pesticides have helped to create the dead zone at the Mississippi Delta down towards New Orleans. So I just want to say this, and then I'm going to read the poem. It's kind of a longer poem today. Um, the way people think about the environment and approach it and act towards it, and especially those who create legislations that deal with nature, with the environment, with trees, with species, and they believe that the bottom line of financial gain is the most important thing. um, I can say that they're not listening to their hearts. Some things can be discussed and some things can be agreed upon because the world's different now. We probably should have paid a lot more attention many hundreds of years earlier to the way things were going. But money became the all important God. And it is, yes, it's just an energy like anything else, but it becomes more than an energy when that is the focus of life, when that is the focus of why you do what you do. I used to have students who would tell me all the time, when I had younger students, they'd say, well, I want to be this or that. Why? Well, because you make a lot of money. Yeah, there's more to life, much more to life than that. Um, so I'm going to read this because the way people treat nature and approach nature and um, interact and communicate with nature says a lot about what they believe about themselves and about fellow human beings. If you live primarily by ego, you're going to disregard and not put much merit or stock into nature and saving the nature. I mean, it's like this guy who's in charge now, this country supposedly, he said something about some little bird or fish. It was a fish um, is not going to stop getting water to California, and it was all just a bunch of bullshit anyway. Which is everything he says is a bunch of bullshit. And people who disregard nature, I think they're probably full of bullshit too. Um, doesn't mean that everybody is, but I want to read this poem because this came to me. Oh, let me preface it with this too. This poem came about because one day I was going out to walk my puppy, and all of a sudden I realized there was a strange truck parked down a side street. And I looked because it had lights on top. And I looked, and it was some guy out spray painting tree on trees. And I found out what was going on. And then over the course of 6 months, the first thing that went were the trees, because there were some trees that had the nerve to push up slabs of concrete on the sidewalk. And so that merited um, chopping down the trees because they were just a nuisance. Um, that is, that's ego energy when that happens. Because other things could have been done to take out the slab of concrete and to fix that, to eliminate that part of that one root. And it would be okay because these trees have been around for like 60, 70 years. Some of them maybe longer. I don't know for sure because I wasn't around then. But that's what was occurring. And these one by one, it's probably like 30 or so trees, beautiful older trees that were eliminated. And this is what I heard them say to me because I would speak to them as I go past. Um, these are the sentiments that I got. These are the energies that I received. And this poem that I wrote out of this is called Genocide of the Trees. And remember what I said about it says something about people, the way they treat trees is the way they treat other people, is the way they believe in themselves or don't believe in themselves really in their heart self. Here is the poem, Genocide of the Trees. It began simply enough to those not paying attention, to dull, heedless humans, those slow to hear. The trees knew something was amiss, but not that some humans had death in their souls when the trees received the shock of bitterly cold orange spray paint in a bullseye circle, prominent on their ancient trunks. Maybe it was as much a badge as a bullseye. The dull humans paid little attention. Few asked questions about the marked trees. The trees, though, had many questions, felt the badges, sensed the targeting, but they didn't know, not yet. The oaks of wisdom were stumped. The apples and pears of fruitfulness were barren, nor did any of those marked fully understand. Comprehension of betrayal lay beyond their knowledge, for they shared their energies faithfully for collective centuries. No deceit, no threats. The day came, or maybe night, when the trucks delivered the army that began the relentless slaughter. The cracking of the branches like crystal breaking. The first tree cried out through its rooting network, I die, we die. Why? The doltish, slow-souled, unquestioning humans heard not the cries, but they could not ignore the slaughter as it began. They were divided, for some thought the removal benefited them, made their property more valuable, neat, tidy, clean, and white. No trace of messy tree nature with sidewalk raising roots, seeds that drop, leaves that fall. Clean it all up when it doesn't fit us. It's better for all. The trees were dying anyway. So are the perpetrators. They rest in lies because cleaning up, of course, meant elimination to the trees. One by one, they were neutralized. One by one, their offered wisdom diminished. But wisdom is never lost. Wisdom continues. And those who were deaf to the wisdom, the cries, those who planned the genocide will never understand that shattered glass and badges are forced removals, are reservations of devastation, are legalized slavery, are wars justified by dull-witted nationalism, are ego-energized religion. None of these will ever obliterate wisdom. Walnuts abound. Pine cones spread, acorns drop, seeds of wisdom from each victim begin to whisper their life energy. The designers and perpetrators of the genocide refuse their own heart, which tells the truth of the unity of trees and humans and the sure destruction of all who will not hear. Trees live on, humans may not. Hear the lament of the trees, for they, being felled, yet chant. Their offspring raise their chorus too, offering songs of hope for themselves and humanity. And that's the end of the poem. And perhaps that's all I need to say. I hope it speaks for itself. I hope it will um, resonate with some of your hearts, those of you who listen to it. Um, I hope that it will help you to turn and have conversation with your heart and have your heart in conversation and communion and fellowship with the trees, with plant life, with animal life, with those around that most people don't think about as having the ability to enter into a dialogue, but they do. The magic is there. to hear through heart. And if you will seek, if you're seeking healing on any kind of level, personal, emotional, spiritual, even physical sometimes, if you are if you can communicate with nature, and you can if you want to, but if you do that, you just might find solutions you never dreamed of. There's magic around. There are spirits in each one has a spirit. By the way, as these trees were being felled here, this was about a year and a half ago, I gathered chips and little twigs from every single one that was eliminated in our neighborhood. And I held a ceremony. It was just me, but I held my ceremony honoring the trees and speaking to them, each one for what their energies were, if I knew what kind of tree it was. Um, and I had a ceremonial bonfire with those remains. And I know that the trees appreciated it. I know because I've had uh, magic happen from other trees of the same sort that offer their pine cones or their seeds or uh, their stumps growing out new shoots. So listen, because my desire is that anybody who encounters or engages with my work will experience healing, awakening love. And it can really start right out in your own backyard. So until next time, love and peace.